Hi, everybody. This is Adam Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology. It is Tuesday, November 26th. Happy new moon in Sagittarius. We're going to talk today about the entrance of the planet Jupiter into the sign of Capricorn, specifically because this new moon cycle is brought to you by Jupiter, new moon in Sagittarius, the home sign of Jupiter. And because Jupiter hosts this moon cycle and is making such a big shift in the next week around December 2nd and 3rd, moves into Capricorn, it's important to take a look at some of the maybe finer, subtler dynamics of this shift, this sign change that Jupiter is doing. So that's what we're going to take a look at today. Before I dive into that, I also want to remind everybody that in the last 40 days of the year, I am fundraising. If you enjoy my channel, if you like my work, if it is giving you something of value, helping you navigate your day-to-day life, then I invite you all to pitch in and donate if you can to support this channel and this work again in 2020. I've been doing this going on, this is my 6th year of doing fundraisers, 7th year of writing daily content, 250, sometimes 300 times a year. And it is a huge part of my life. It is a core part of my daily spiritual lifestyle and practice. I get up early in the morning, I prepare, I research, I write, I spend about 90 minutes every single day in mantra meditation. I practice my yoga. I get myself up in order to produce this content for you guys. So if it's valuable to you, I ask that you consider pitching in. There's a link in the description of this video to my Kickstarter. Also in the comments section, you can drop in. You can pick a reward reading when you do so, or hugely discounted tuition to my spring or fall online certification courses that I teach. I've taken a lot of people over the years through a whole one-year course in Hellenistic, ancient classical astrology, including a real focus on the mystical, spiritual roots of the practice, as well as showing people how to implement this, this astrological theory with live clients in our classroom. It's a really great program. So huge discounted tuition if you donate as well. Anyway, thank you for letting me do my spiel the last 40 days of every year. I really ring the bell and try to rally your support. We are at, I think, almost 130 backers. The goal for this year is 420. So we're moving in the right direction. We're only 4 or 5 days in right now. We have until January 1st. So please pitch in if you can. You can get a holiday gift for someone, pick up a reward reading. I'll make a personalized reading for you when you donate. It's a pretty cool thing. So thanks again for letting me do my spiel here. All right, let's take a look at this new moon in Sagittarius that we have today. If I can pull it around here. Okay, there we go. And so you're going to see this new moon in Sagittarius. And the ruler, Jupiter, is culminating right now in Sagittarius and is about to change signs into Capricorn. So I want to talk about a subtle dynamic that can give us a whole lot of insight into the moon cycle ahead, into what Jupiter and Capricorn is going to be doing, at least for a good portion of his transit through Capricorn in the next year, and something you might be able to feel as early as the next week or two. And then I want to tell you how you can take this technique and actually apply it to any planetary transit. So first I want to read you something. This is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, and it is a description of our relationship with karma. And it's a really good description to help make the point about Jupiter and Capricorn, so that's why I'm using it. The personality of Godhead said, as a mass of clouds does not know the powerful influence of the wind, a person engaged in material consciousness does not know the powerful strength of the time factor by which he is being carried. Whatever is produced by the materialist with great pain and labor for so-called happiness, the Supreme Personality as the time factor destroys, and for this reason the conditioned soul laments. The misguided materialist does not know that his very body is impermanent and that the attractions of home, land, and wealth, which are in relationship to that body, are also temporary. Out of ignorance only, he thinks that everything is permanent. The living entity, in whatever species of life he appears, finds a particular type of satisfaction in that species, and he is never averse to being situated in such a condition. The conditioned living entity is satisfied in his own particular species of life while deluded by the covering influence of the illusory energy. He feels little inclined to cast off his body, even when in hell, for he delights even in hellish enjoyments. So it's kind of a heavy verse, I know, and I don't mean to be super negative or dark about anything here, but the reason that I bring this up is that the theme of Jupiter entering its fall in the sign of Capricorn, in Saturn's sign, has a lot to do with the path of noble intentions that are paving the road to hell. And hell is a relative thing. We go through little hellish dimensions of experience all the time, every day. Some are more minor, some are more chronic, some are more acute, some are major. But when I say hell, I'm not trying to make it into some kind of place necessarily, as much as it is a mode of experience. We often find ourselves locked in hellish places because we believe somehow that it's good to be there. The easy example, low-hanging fruit, is like an addict. An addict is doing something they think is bringing them happiness. It's actually destroying them. It's like the devil card in the tarot. So that's like the devil card in the tarot is like right on track with the reading that I just gave, right? But actually, there's a lot of other examples as well. And I'll just give you two personal examples. When Jupiter was last in Capricorn in 2007 through 2008, I was finishing graduate school, and I had this whole pathway envisioned. I'd get my degree, and then I would go teach, and I would write, and I'd be like a professor. And what I had to come to realize as Jupiter was in Capricorn was that this noble pursuit, this nice looking thing, was actually a kind of hellish thing for me. I didn't like it. I didn't like the world of academia. It was like trying to fit whatever they say, a square peg into a round hole. So it just didn't mesh well. I had this lofty Jupiterian sense of the goodness, the rightness, the bigness, the importance, Jupiterian things, of being an academic. And it fell apart. I started studying astrology, started studying yoga. So there were commitments that I made during that time to new paths of faith, belief, new ways of investing my time and energy that were truer to who I was. But there was also an encounter with something that was not working for me, that I had told myself was a noble, good, virtuous thing. Jupiter's like that. Jupiter is the god of nobility, virtue, philosophy, belief, faith, hope, the sense that there is a good cosmic order. I work near DC. I see people all the time. Most people I see in DC, who are going to see an astrologer, they have some sense of what they believe, why they're doing what they're doing, some noble aspiration, whether it's a policy that they're fighting for, or international work that they do, or a politician that they serve who they really believe in, or something like that, right? It's super, super Jupiterian. But like Jupiter in Capricorn, sometimes the DC vibe is like, type A with all of the outer appearance of virtue and goodness, but internally there's a kind of moral or spiritual bankruptcy. There's a feeling of not being connected to what one is doing. There's a feeling of falseness. There's a feeling of being burnt out or of working too much, right? So similarly, my wife and I, we own a yoga studio until September, for 8 going on 9 years. And for the last 3 years, the Kickstarters that I've done, the one that I just rallied your support for, the past 3 years, that Kickstarter went to keeping our yoga studio alive. We didn't write ourselves one check from our yoga studio for over 3 years. And every fundraiser that I did to support myself as an astrologer was actually going to support a yoga studio, because we believed in it. We believed in offering donation-based yoga classes to people. We believed in doing all this kind of stuff. We had a couple of kids. Our health started going down a bit. And what do? We kept saying, no, this is a good thing. This is a good thing. Doesn't matter that we're not taking a paycheck. It's a good thing. And it was a good thing. But there comes a point where even the good things reach moments of death. That's Jupiter in Saturn's sign. That's Jupiter in its fall in Saturn's sign, where you go, yeah, if I keep going down this road of good intentions, it's going to take me into a hellish condition. So sometimes Jupiter in Capricorn is about that. It's about saying, okay, I've been in this kind of hellish condition. And I've been trying to tell myself that, I've been evangelizing to myself that this is a really good thing, even though it's been painful or not in alignment with who I am or what I actually believe any longer. It's not a bad time to commit to new visions, new forms of faith, new faith statements, new beliefs, new systems, new structures, but they have to be formed on or based on the sense of, and that because that other thing doesn't cut it anymore. So these are like, again, I graduated from graduate school, 2007, 2008, but I was graduating, I was leaving behind that world and that realm of accomplishments in order to focus more on the things that I really loved, that I realized that no amount of degrees behind my name or an office in an English department somewhere was going to make me happy. But Jupiter, so to speak, the Jupiter function had convinced me that that was a noble, good, big, important aspiration. So it's time to question those things. It's time to make commitments to the things that really matter and separate them from the things that maybe only appear like they matter. This is why I read that verse as well, because in that verse, we have a tendency to keep ourselves, no matter what species of life we're in, the Bhagavatam says, that we find something to glom onto as a temporary material source of pleasure, and we will try to ennoble that no matter what it is, even if it takes us into hell. Sometimes if I know you know people like this, there are people who are like do-gooders, but they're constantly anxious and constantly angry. How good can that possibly be? Do you see what I'm saying? It's not that I'm not saying we shouldn't do good either, but like, again, I work with a lot of people from DC, people who are trying to do the right thing, who are completely burnt out. You know what I mean? Or who are constantly belligerent. Similarly, if you've ever been around someone who tries to parent and they have a moral sense of why they are cruel, harsh, overly militaristic, or authoritarian in the way that they lay down the law. I mean, I know that like I can be that way sometimes with a Capricorn moon, right? Like sometimes I have to be careful of like, this is the strict thing is the right thing. So I grew up with that sort of, I don't know if you guys ever read Max Weber, The Protestant Work Ethic. I had to read it in a sociology class at one point. But, it's kind of this Protestant work ethic that I was brought up with, like tough love, you know what I mean? Like a lot of my adult life has been like doing some healing work around that sometimes, you know what I mean? So similarly, all of us, whenever Jupiter comes into Capricorn, we have this opportunity to look and be like, are we trying to sell something that is harsh, severe, rigid, not working, not really helping us, and we're doing it because it's tough love, you know what I mean? We're justifying something that is severe or harsh or hellish. Every species of life finds something that they like, even if it puts them into hell, they stick with it, thinking that this is good, not realizing that time will eventually wash it away. So we have to be really careful, because Jupiter, when it enters its fall again in Capricorn, is the impetus to try to justify some rigid adherence to something with good intentions, or to justify something that is really bringing us into moral, emotional, spiritual bankruptcy, but we are sort of advocating for it. We're taking some kind of stand that's not in our best interest. We have to be so careful of that. So many people with Jupiter and Capricorn often will take stands about things that, it's a clever way. We all do it, right? Like my daughter does it. If she wants a cookie and I won't give it to her, she'll like stand on the couch and like become the world's greatest orator all of a sudden. You know what I mean? Arguing for why this is a good, noble, just thing to give her the cookie. Do you know what I'm saying? And what is it's funny because, there's the Jupiter, the good, noble, just, the proud. It's like, yeah, but really you just want the cookie. Do you know what I mean? But I love watching her. I love watching her develop her skills. Pretty awesome. Anyway, so we do have to be careful of this with Jupiter entering Capricorn. On the flip side, one more time, just to be clear, you can also make such rich, deep, good commitments to the things that you love right now by getting clear about those things that are no longer working, by realizing, oh, you know what? Maybe I've been getting righteous about something that's not really good for me. That's where my wife and I had to get to before we closed our yoga studio. It was basically like, you know what? This is not this. We have a lot of good reasons for wanting to keep doing this, but with 2 kids, our health and herbal and astrology practice, et cetera, lots of irons in the fire. And we're not getting paid at all from this. It's like, you know, the all of my creative content for the year that I produced, the fundraisers for, like I said, like the past 3 years or so, all of it was going to the yoga studio. We didn't get one paycheck, you know, and then you're justifying, well, it's a good thing to do. And it was, right? It was up until the point where it wasn't. Do you know what I mean? And there's just that fine line with Jupiter and Capricorn where it's like, you can turn this corner and be like, now these are the things that I'm going to commit to because I'm no longer deluding myself about something. I'm not making myself out to be some hero or aggrandizing something that's really not good for me. We do have a tendency to try to ennoble our vices. So simple Thanksgiving, if you're celebrating Thanksgiving this week, watch how people at the, you know, if you get into any kind of political debate with your family, you know, watch how everyone at the table when they're debating about politics, everyone feels completely justified in their anger that they feel. Do you know what I mean? Okay, so sometimes it's not healthy. We fight tooth and nail and claim that it's virtuous to stay in a place that's not so good for us. That's Jupiter and Capricorn. All right, now let me show you this little cool technical trick that I think you'll like to close. All right, so the idea is this. When a planet enters a sign, Jupiter is about to enter Capricorn, it is going to exert its influence over everything that comes after it in the sign of Capricorn. Because when planets get together and then separate, the influence shifts. So for example, if we take this back just a few days, again, you'll see Venus coming up on Jupiter. And Venus's conjunction with Jupiter meant Venus was approaching Jupiter and hence pushing its influence onto Jupiter. As Venus separates from Jupiter, then Jupiter is then exerting its superior influence over Venus. Sometimes we think that all aspects are just a matter of equally blending two symbolic, two planetary sets of symbols. Like, you know, you have a Jupiter-Mercury symbolism, which you just blend them evenly. But actually, in ancient astrology, the idea was that one planet would tend to exert a more dominant influence over the other planet, and it was important to read that. As Jupiter is entering Capricorn on December 2nd, 3rd, Jupiter is going to be slowly, it's shifted now, has the influence over Venus, and as it's approaching Saturn and Pluto, and the south node of the moon, it is exerting its influence all through the sign of Capricorn. That is where we have 2 choices. Again, that when Jupiter is influencing all of those planets ahead of it, 2 choices. You can either say, I'm going to try to justify my road to hell. I'm going to pave it with all the good intentions and double down on things with some great sense of righteousness when it's not actually good. And we can see that right now in politics. You can see that in the political arena. On the other hand, it can be a time where you say, the thing that I have been dressing up or that I have been investing myself in, that academic career, that yoga studio, that you think you're doing the right thing, but it's actually draining you, it's actually hellish, you actually don't like it, you can get very, very clear and say, no more of that. Now I'm going to commit to the things that I actually really value. But it's a kind of wake-up call moment. That is Jupiter exerting its influence from the sign of its fall all the way through Capricorn, onto Venus, onto Saturn, onto Pluto. And that description I gave is, everything we've talked about today is tantamount to the influence that Jupiter is going to be exerting over these planets. Now, another example just for fun, so you can apply this to any planetary transit. Let's look, for example, at Mercury and Mars. Mercury and Mars, who are together right now in the sign of Scorpio. Which one is in the superior position? It's going to be Mars. Mercury is separating from Mars, moving away from Mars. Mars is behind it. So Mercury approaching Mars in Scorpio, for example, or they might have been in Libra when Mercury did so, Mercury would have had the influence upon Mars. But now we have Mars influencing Mercury, while Mars is also separating from an opposition to Uranus. Simple example of how this played out in the news. There was a NFL football player who was taken out of a game due to an anxiety attack that he had in the game. So he has an anxiety attack in the game. This is an athlete, Mars, right, who has a kind of erratic, destabilizing experience, opposition to Uranus, and then it creates or provokes a conversation about mental health among professional athletes. Mars asserting its influence over Mercury. Also, the erratic Mars Mercury influence, or the erratic Mars Uranus opposition influencing itself over Mercury, is the nervous kind of decompensation that he has on the field, and he has to leave. Similarly, if you feel right now a little erratic, mentally unstable, more agitated, feeling more anxious, or just dealing with some degree of fear or volatility emotionally and mentally, that is because Mars is exerting its influence on Mercury. We can also see this because Mercury is in Mars's sign, and hence Mars has rulership over Mercury. But from the aspectual standpoint, Mercury separating from Mars, flowing forth from Mars, Mars becomes the superior one in the relationship. So you could even add in Mercury's trine to Jupiter right now and say, not only is there a more fearful, anxiety prone, or mentally turbulent atmosphere, but also there may be some real lack of clarity, deception, illusion, fog, because of the trine that Mercury has to Neptune. And Mercury also exerts an influence over Neptune from a superior trine, so you can get into that too. I won't, I'll just keep it simple for now. But so use that technique, in other words, wherever you can. If you want to give you one more example so you see how it works. If you want to know how this works, put yourself into the middle of the circle. Imagine that you're standing there. Look at two planets that are moving to an aspect with one another. How about Venus at 0 Capricorn and Mars at 4 degrees of Scorpio? They're moving into a degree-based sextile with one another from the whole signs of Capricorn and Scorpio. Which one has the superior influence? Pretend you're standing in the middle of the circle. You are the X. Look at Venus, look at Mars. Which one is on the right? Which one is on the left? The one on the right is dominating. The one on the left is receiving, you could say. So, or asserting and receiving. So Mars, in this Mars-Venus sextile, is going to exert influence over Venus. So for example, that could mean that in a relationship of some kind, that there's going to be a lot of Mars energy asserting itself. If it was Venus, it would be more like within a competitive dynamic, there's a more harmonious, fun, likable, or charming energy that's asserting itself. They're not the same thing. So you have to look at which planet is sort of asserting and which one is receiving, and that modifies the interpretation. And it gets things become a lot more specific when we do that. So that's really a fun thing that you can do, and it oftentimes will give you just a nuance of interpretation that a lot of people don't realize even exists. So the point of today was to recognize that Jupiter's entrance into Capricorn, moving into its fall as the ruler of this lunar cycle, is giving us some of the chances that I talked about to look at our values, our beliefs, and how they are asserting themselves either negatively or positively right now. A great time for reevaluation, and a time to, I remember when we realized that for as much as we had been doing a good thing, that it was no longer a good thing to be keeping our yoga studio open. It was a real relief to release ourselves from the dogma of a good intention that was no longer good, and sometimes we need to do that. And then that freed us up to commit to the things that we really want to commit to. So I leave you with that. I hope that this was an interesting talk. Again, if you are able to, please pitch in and support my work in 2020. I really appreciate it. This will be the first year in years where this money will actually go to supporting me and my family. It's amazing. We'll also do lots of cool things with it. We still have a community herbal medicine garden. We always are trying to do things for the community that enable more people to access astrology and herbalism for, as easily as possible. So one of the things that I also am able to do because of this fundraiser is to provide, over 100, sometimes even 150 scholarships to students every year who go through different programs that I lead. If you want to check any of those out, it's nightlightastrology.com. You can check the certification course tab. All right, that's what I've got for you guys. We'll be in touch again soon. Take care.